Okay, I hope you did read those pages in full at the beginning of the video. The first page was a statement from Andor AG, the company that owns FANATEC. Second page is a wiki reference that outlines the responsibilities of a CRO, a Chief Restructuring Officer. And when you kind of understand the actual responsibilities of what a CRO is, then you suddenly get a full picture that FANATEC is in a really dire position right now. Also, it's worth noting actually, if you check out that Andor AG share price, just Google it. When I checked, the share price is like €2.5, €2.6, something like that. A year ago, their share price was €12. So it was there, and now it's there in a year. Now, these things don't happen overnight. Clearly, when a company gets into financial difficulty, it's a slow grind, into the ground effectively. It takes a while, it takes months, could take years. So it's not something that's going to be from last week to this week and then suddenly the company is screwed. It doesn't happen like that. So something is obviously been brewing up over a long period of time. As a customer, you're going to know this potentially if you've been waiting months to get your products from FANATEC, or if you've been ignored by email by FANATEC after you've given them your money to them, which is a very common thing. People are just waiting months, getting very concerned about are they even going to get products they've paid for. And certainly when you hear this, where Thomas Jackemeyer, the guy that has ran the company for 17 years, he's the founder of the business. He's now a major shareholder because the business was floated, so no longer is the sole owner of the business, but he's kept a huge chunk of the shares. He's been ousted as the CEO of his company that he founded because the company is in financial difficulty, and this is a covenant from the banks, which is basically he has to go, and the company needs to be restructured to hopefully repay the banks the money they're owed. And the CRO is someone who is going to look at helping the company restructure so the banks can get some money back, get their money back, and get the company on a level playing field where it is financially viable as a business. But that's not always the case. A CRO is also there to look to sell the business or even bankrupt the business. And if the company is bankrupt because is never going to be in a position to pay back its loans, or if the bank is just going to be, giving money into basically an endless hole to support a company, it can't do that. So it's going to obviously have certain conditions. So this company needs to get out of the shit probably within a certain amount of time, and the banks will try to support them, I'm sure, until they realise it's an untenable business. So potentially, FANATEC will need restructuring massively to make it financially viable. And let's all hope that they do manage to pull it off and everything works out in the end and it becomes a thriving, successful business again. Though there is no guarantee of that. So if you are looking to buy from FANATEC for the first time, I would say that's a bad move, because you're buying into a company which is on the precipice of failure. And if that's the case, you may buy something that you're not going to get anything in return for. If it goes bankrupt, you're not going to get your products. And if it goes bankrupt, your warranty, even if you do have the product, is no longer going to have any meaning, because there's going to be no company to exist to claim any warranty off. And indeed, even if you're fine and it lasts for a few years, what if you need a repair? There's no spare parts, there's no one to repair it, there's no company that exists to actually provide that provision. So do understand that if you are going to buy from FANATEC, you are taking a big risk. So there's red flags there, and it's up to you. You can take the risk, it's entirely up to you. You can ignore what I'm saying, but just have a think about it before you pull the trigger on anything from FANATEC at the moment. But if you still want to do it, I guess the way to do it would be via a credit card, because if a company goes bankrupt, you are protected by the credit card company, since the actual debt is owed to the credit card company, not to you, if you pay via credit card. And you'll get your money back from the credit card company. The credit card company will claim against the company that's failed. So that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it risk-free. If you pay by debit card or bank transfer, then that's your problem, because you've given your direct money to the company. You are now the guy that has to try and get that money back from a collapsed company, which is very difficult to do. And in fact, the banks will always be in front of you, and you're only going to get back a portion of what you paid, since there won't be enough money to go around. So that's where you're going to be at if you do buy into a company that collapses. And do understand these things happen. When it happens, a company always goes through a process where it gets into a dodgy position. You might hear about it, and this happens in all big companies. You might hear on the news about companies, high street kind of chains and stuff like that. You hear about they're going to go through a restructuring period and this, that, and the other, and then a few weeks later, a few months later, it goes into administration. So I'm not saying this is going to happen to FANATEC. There's no guarantee of that, but there is a risk there. So just do understand that. Just be smart, think about it. And then certainly, don't have to listen to me. Do your own research on this. It's your money, so it's up to you on that one. But I just want to put it out there because there is a big risk buying into FANATEC products right now, and it's going to remain a risk until we get more positive financial news from that company that things have turned around. I guess the only problem is by recommending that you don't buy from FANATEC, that's going to make it worse for the company, since it's a company that's continuing to trade and they need customers to buy from them. I'm sure there's going to be absolutely loads of people that have also made the same conclusion looking at the news that's out there, and are now going to steer clear of FANATEC because it just looks like a terrible idea to just buy from a company which is looking in a dodgy position, since you don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, it's not going to help. It just compounds the issue. So sometimes you get in that position, companies can get in a position where there's no way out and it's just going to be a nosedive into oblivion. Let's hope that's not the case, but there's certainly I would say, a high risk of that possibility. And it's worth recognising that the landscape for sim racing hardware is very different now than it was back in the day when I started out, which was only about 8 years ago, so 2016. And back then you had Logitech, Thrustmaster, and at the top, providing that premium consumer level hardware, was FANATEC. They were undisputed at the time of providing that top tier experience. And if you're looking for mid-range and entry level, you went with Logitech or Thrustmaster. That was the deal. But fast forward into 2024, or even 2020, I guess, when things started kind of really taking off, is we now have multiple brands all fighting in the same space that FANATEC used to dominate. So of course FANATEC are taking a smaller slice of the pie, which is going to hit their bottom line and make it harder for them to trade and be successful. So yeah, times have changed. FANATEC are no longer the top dog, that dominant sort of position in the market that they used to hold. So yeah, I'm sure that is an issue for them, and something which is factoring in their situation now. I hope you found this subject interesting, and if you do like these sort of videos, let me know in the comments. I don't generally like to put myself in front of the camera that much. I don't find it particularly comfortable, but for a subject like this, it seemed like the best way to present it. This is an opinion piece, and I was just venting my thoughts and my rationale, my logic on the situation with FANATEC that's going on right now. But there you go. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, happy simming, and bye bye.